So we're just opening up Turning Point right now, and once Turning Point opens, we'll open up our intermediate user and advanced user presentation here. And like I said, guys, each one of these topics will be standalone. We're not going to need one to do the other. So the first thing that we're going to cover today is something called comparative links. Comparative links will allow you to go ahead and take a pre- and a post-analysis question within your presentation and link those together to see a result on a subsequent third slide. So let's say right in the beginning of your presentation, you want to ask your students kind of a pre-analysis question. You want to do a knowledge check to see how much information they currently have about the topic you're going to cover. So maybe right in the beginning of your presentation, you would put in a slide such as this. How familiar are you with Turning Point? You would go through your entire presentation, and then at the very end of it, or towards the end, you would come to the question the second time. Well, this would be the pre and the post analysis right here. Through a comparative link, you're going to be able to see the difference of how those students answered it the first time compared to the second. Now, to set up a comparative link, you first of all need to build these question slides right into the presentation. So there's nothing special about these two slides. I just went to my Insert Slide tab, I clicked on Vertical, I typed out my question, and I typed out my answer choices. Now, do recognize that my slides are back to back. But if this was a practical scenario where I had students in front of me, I would have many slides in between these, both PowerPoint and Turning Point. But for our training purposes, I do have these back to back. Now, after I have them in the presentation, to link them together, I'm going to come back up here to my Insert Slide tab, and when I click on Insert Slide, I'm going to locate Comparative Links, the second option from the bottom. When I select Comparative Links, a little menu that pops up, and it's just going to simply ask me for my first slide and my second slide. So in this case, our first slide is number 8, and our second slide is number 9. As soon as I press OK, it's going to build that subsequent third slide, which when I run this presentation, will show me the difference of how the audience answered the question the two separate times. So once again, comparative links will allow us to examine the difference between how the audience answered two separate questions. Now, these questions are going to be similar. I do want you to notice the question at the top of this link slide. How familiar are you with Turning Point Part 2? It takes on how the question was stated the second time. So technically, you could link together two non-related slides, but that would be pointless. You wouldn't get any relevant information on here. So make sure that the questions are at least asking the same things, and that the answer choices are the same. Answer choices should be uniform, and the questions should pretty much be asking the same exact thing. Are there any questions, first of all, in terms of what we're trying to accomplish here in setting up these comparative links?
No, I'm good.
All right, thank you. So now we're going to go ahead and run these through on simulated data, and we'll also take a look at where the comparative link report is located. So as we're running through the presentation, this, of course, would be my pre-analysis question. Get the results as I normally would. Now, keep in mind that I would normally go through a lot of other slides before I come to the question again, but this would be my post-analysis, shut down my polling, get my results, and now this time when I advance, I will advance to where I have the link slide to be able to see the difference of how the audience answered the two separate times. Okay, so the comparative links will show you that automatically when you arrive on this slide. Now keep in mind that this link slide needs to come after the second time you ask the question. Now, you could move it later in the presentation and it's still going to work. Okay, but just make sure you do not move it before the second time you ask the question. Otherwise, this is going to become disabled because it has no information to link together. Now, when your presentation is 100% complete, we all know that we should save our results to the save session, and then either immediately or at a later time, we'll generate our reports. So when we get into our reporting screen, the very last folder, which reads Other Reports, will contain a comparative link report. So when I open this up, the comparative link report will be the second option down. So I'm going to check mark this box, click on Generate Reports, and now it's going to give me that segmented horizontal charts in an Excel format. So from here I can go ahead and print it off, email it, save it to whatever I need to do, because of course it's nothing but Excel. So that's our comparative links, where we can go ahead and link together the pre- and post-analysis question. Before we move on to the next topic, are there any other questions on the comparative links?
No.
Now remember, each one of these topics are independent, so with this priority ranking, it's basically nothing to do with comparative links.